What's up, Beer League hockey fans and fellow dumpers? Welcome to another Dump and Skate podcast. I'm the head broken and decrepit bender, ball buster, and as Asaro knew me, the guy that never shut up, but yet he still calls me 2-7 on the ice, Abdu. With me, as always, the man that makes this podcast possible, lead producer, the guy with a face for podcasting, king of chip tooth cake, Jeremy, just have a salad. Oh, you mean just add lettuce to my meal, Holland?
That's good. What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all shapes, sizes, and flavors? Welcome in to another episode of your favorite podcast about all things beer league hockey, dump and skate. We're glad to have you guys here. Today, we're going to chat up. We got a little bit to talk about. We're going to do a short pod and dump it because we wanted to get it out before Game 3. We got a little bit of thoughts on Game 2. Want to keep you guys up to date, just in case you're not watching the finals. We want to keep you guys up to date on our thoughts on what's going on, and just keep engaging with you guys. We got a special guest coming up on another show, so that we're going to record tomorrow. So you're going to get a couple of shows, kind of rapid fire here. But this will be a quick one, so a quick listen for you guys out there. So thanks for jumping in. Thanks for listening. Really appreciate that. Before we jump into the meat and potatoes of the podcast, I want to give a quick shout out again to the people that we know do a good job that support us. And today we want to talk a little bit about Chicagoland Print. Chicagoland Print, we're super familiar with. They have done multiple logos and helped out with jerseys. You can kind of see one behind me here with my Swamp Donkeys logo. They've helped out some of the local guys with some business cards, T-shirts, things like that. So anything print you need, give our friends there a call, whether it's a business card, a flyer, a brochure, anything you need to promote your business. Let the guys at Chicagoland Print give you a hand on that. Their goal is to meet the needs of anyone looking for affordable, high quality, and competitively priced printing services. You got your own design. You need them to do it. It doesn't matter. They can hook you up. Give them a call, chicagolandprint.com. Their phone number is 630-233-7276. So, all right, buddy, let's talk. Stanley Cup Finals, Game 2. Edmonton is in an ugly, ugly hole.
You're going to have a lot more to talk about it than I am. That's no jab at your podcast talking, but I slept from the first period, after the first period. Look, guys.
Oh,
you might just think all I have to do is run his mouth and sleep. But
and you'd be correct if that's all you think he does. That's the majority of what it is. What did you do today in the middle of the day? I called you at like 12 o'clock because I was running a couple errands. I had to leave a job site. Called you, didn't get you. What, like 45 minutes later, you called back? And you were like, hey, man.
Today's a Saturday.
Today is a Wednesday.
For anyone at work listening, anyone at work listening,
You're at work on a Saturday now. What the heck?
I thought it was a great idea to take a nap, and lo and behold,
it's not a great idea in the middle of a work day.
I've been trying to keep my head above water since. And it was power is a power nap. Give me a break. It's not like I just went to bed at like
45-minute power nap. No, you save the go back to bed in the morning things for the weekend. That's when you do that. It's Sunday. It's 8:30. I'm going to go back to sleep. Oh man, it's 12:30 on a Sunday. I'll go back to sleep again.
I got all my work done. Mission accomplished. So.
Sorry about those delays in answering those emails and text messages, guys.
So right, Stanley Cup stuff. Stanley Cup.
I gotta ask. Was this like you were in the chair and you just kind of were like, and like fell asleep in the chair, or was this like a planned thing? Like you got away from the desk, sat down on the sofa, or like propped your feet up on the bed and were like, I'm just gonna close my eyes for a second. Which one of these naps was it?
The people that I work with are listeling. Some of them are.
So definitely
it was one of those. It was one
definitely
of those.
Definitely a sofa or a bed.
Let me just. I'm gonna go to the bathroom really quick. But the toilet.
You fell asleep on the. You fell asleep on the toilet.
The toilet seat is down. No, honestly. I don't even want to say. I don't want to even say.
Ponton does his box jumps in the Planet Fitness toilet. Abdu takes his naps at the office toilet.
I don't want to say, but I may have just sprawled out on the bed for a little bit at 12 o'clock. Yeah, I don't-
What's the worst that could happen? Oh my gosh.
Time out. For the record, my laptop was right next to me, and the TV was off. Not like I was planning on taking a nap, but I was working on some emails, and I woke up, I don't know, 12:30, 12:45, and I'm like, oh my God, it's got to be like 4 o'clock. I woke up and just like a sleep hangover. I didn't know what day it was. I'm like, it was all right, Stanley Cup stuff, guys. All right, let's get
the
this
sleep hangovers are the worst. They're
so
brutal. Oh man.
midday.
Good one though.
We just spent
You-
5 minutes.
your boy. Your boy loves naps, guys. Your boy loves some naps, apparently. Stanley Cup Finals. Yeah, that was another brutal game. So last episode we talked about how we kind of felt like Florida was really in the driver's seat for the most part, but that Edmonton kind of had a chance to fight back a little bit, and it actually looked a little promising. Edmonton got the first goal.
Yeah, but
It wasn't
it was
a
the only
super-
shot on net up to that point.
It was. I mean, that was a really bad sign for Bobrovsky and Florida. All of that didn't look good for them, letting a goal in that early. But watching the game, I told you, I felt like Florida dominated the first 2 periods. I mean, I just felt like they absolutely dominated the first 2 periods. Their forecheck was ridiculous. Edmonton was struggling tremendously to get out of the zone, evidenced by the fact that they went through basically like 12, 13 minutes of the first period before they finally got that first shot on goal. Now, it just so happened to fall, and you thought, okay, well, that's a really good sign. But, I mean, it just first and second period, it didn't look like Edmonton stood a chance. Now, again, I felt like Edmonton held their own in the third period, but the shots were so lopsided by that time. I mean, it
Off
was
of the highlights. It doesn't seem like Edmonton stands a chance.
at the moment, it doesn't.
Yeah, you see a sweep.
I mean, potentially. I don't know. It's sounds like Florida's having a hard time getting to Edmonton, so that may affect some things a little bit, especially if Edmonton's guys were all already able to get back there, get some rest, be back at home. It makes a big difference when you're playing in your own barn, when you kind of back around some familiar territory. I don't know exactly what these guys do, whether they stay at their house, whether they all stay at a team hotel or what when they're in finals like this. But if you're back at your house, there's some comfort you have there versus being on the road for a couple of days and staying in a hotel. So, and again, these guys have been traveling now for several weeks through the playoffs, so it's not like this is foreign to them. But there is some relief, some comfort being back at your own place, back at your own practice facility, all of that stuff. So again, maybe Edmonton takes the 2 at home. I don't see it. I mean, if Florida plays the next 2 games the way they just played game 2, unless something major changes for Edmonton, they're in big trouble. So
my sister sent me a text. She thinks Edmonton in 7. I go, you are crazy.
There's no way. Was she being serious, or was she just trying to mess with you?
She said Edmonton in 7. I said, you're crazy. And she's like, if it happens, you owe me $100. And I said, okay, if it doesn't happen, you give me $100. Like, she really thinks that they're gonna.
Why does she think that? Is it like a McDavid Draisaitl thing, or is it like a? And where is that coming from? That's an interesting.
I can't give you an
take.
answer. We can have her on. I can't give you an answer. I'll ask her, but
I just want you to know what you're doing. She
hasn't been watching.
You're confirming that Mandy's judgment is questionable. I mean, that is a very,
it's music.
very.
This is not like it's music.
It's all judgment calls are judgment calls. Okay, so yeah, that's a tough one. So, I don't know, man. It's there were a couple of controversial hits in that game too. I missed. I had stepped away from my TV, so I missed the 5-minute major, but I saw some of the replays of it. 100% deserves the 5-minute major.
Yep.
Definitely looks like he reached with the leg and clipped. I don't even remember the guy he clipped, but definitely deserves it. Edmonton just looks sloppy. I mean, the first goal that I think it was Evan Rodriguez got, which was, I think, ultimately the game winner, but it was Florida's second goal. Bouchard passed it right to him. And I understand it was a long sustained offensive.
It was a
zone.
Holland goal.
It was a Holland goal. Well, not exactly. Rodriguez wasn't in the slot. I would have waited until he got into the slot to pass it to him. He was just outside of the slot. He was at the top of the circle. So, but yeah, no, Bouchard right position, breaks up the play, and it had been a long shift. Florida had basically controlled the puck and trapped Edmonton in their own zone for a long, long time. Edmonton desperately needed a change. And I know how it goes. You get stuck in your own zone like that. You get a puck on your stick, and instead of taking a second to look where you can go, or instead of moving your feet to get out of the area you're in, you just kind of make the lazy, I'll flick it over towards the boards.
Yep.
And that's exactly what it was. It was a lazy flick to the boards. It was an error. Again, everybody makes them. Bouchard's had a great postseason to this point. Really, that's the first time I think I can recall seeing him play, bad. And it was just a bad pass. I mean, it was literally tape to tape, probably 8 feet apart. And right on his tape, Rodriguez gathers the puck and buries it, right? And so Rodriguez got their third one, too, on a power play, which was, I think I was more bummed about that one because every time Edmonton goes on the power play or the penalty kill, the announcer's going to, oh, man, they've killed 34 straight penalties. Oh, they're just doing so incredible. The record is, whatever the record is, held by whoever. I don't even remember what the record is, but they bring it up every time. And I'm like, guys, that's like saying this goalie's had a shutout through that. You don't say things like that. You just be like, hey, they've done really well on it. They're on a good run or whatever. And sure enough, eventually, like it's going to happen. And they got scored on. And it wasn't a bad play. Edmonton got caught with a guy changing. They had 3 guys on the boards pinching the puck. The fourth guy had changed. And so the fourth guy was coming off of the bench, coming back to the slot, and just couldn't get there fast enough. And Rodriguez got another little tipping goal. Again, a good goal on a power play. You're at a man advantage, so you should have the advantage there, but just kind of took advantage of it. And then obviously they got an empty netter later in the game. Edmonton's putting a ton of pressure on Bobrovsky, and it didn't really come until the second half of the game. But again, Bobrovsky's a freak. I mean, is it like 11 or 12 games now where he's allowed 2 or less goals? Like,
right.
I don't know how you're going to beat a guy like that without having a goalie behind you that also has the same stats, that's only letting in 1 or 2 goals a game. Like, there's just no way. And Skinner, he's not that guy. I don't know what his goals against is for the last 10, 12 games. I guarantee it's higher than just a couple of goals a game. Right. And so and again, that's not a knock against Skinner. He's just not the dude Bobrovsky is. So I don't know.
Even the coach said, their goal, Florida's coach said that he's just on one. Like, he is just playing immaculate Stanley Cup Finals goalie.
I mean, he's played that way. Yeah, he's played that way through the playoffs, but now that he's in the finals, it's on another level. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's got
to get MVP.
I don't see anybody else on that roster that deserves it right now.
Now, here's the other thing. I saw the chokehold. I wasn't a fan of that. I don't remember who the players were.
It was on. I think it was on Bouchard.
Yeah, Florida look, I understand. Like, it may have not been a tight chokehold, but that is just. And we'll talk about this on another podcast. Beer league shenanigans, ice hockey shenanigans. What would you call them? Ice hockey warriors or whatever it is, beer league warriors.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of stuff like that or sucker punches, but
look, Aaron Ekblad. It was Aaron Ekblad.
The guy even tapped. He's like, all right, let go, buddy. Let go.
Was that at the Draisaitl hit, or was that earlier than that? Because the Draisaitl got Barkov with an elbow.
Yeah, I think it was after that.
Was it after that?
I don't know. I was sleeping.
Because I wanted to talk about the Draisaitl hit just a little bit. Because in real time, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. Draisaitl didn't seem to be coming in really fast or anything like that. And he left his foot to hit, but it wasn't like he jumped and led with it and like tucked his shoulder. Like, he left his foot and then put his hands in front of him. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't, he wasn't, I don't know. It was really weird. It's almost, again, in real time, it almost read like Draisaitl thought that Barkov was getting ready to turn up the ice. And Draisaitl was like bracing for getting hit kind of deal. Now, maybe I'm just way misreading it. But it's what it looked like to me. Now, obviously, Barkov hits the ice. Barkov's a big stud for them. He's their captain, I think. And he's a phenomenal two-way player, almost a better defensive forward than he is a forward, from what I understand. And so he's been one that shadowed that. This either shadowed Draisaitl or shadowed McDavid, depending on what the need is that night. And so it was a big blow for them to not have him for the tail end of that game. Now again, they still managed to beat the pants off of him 4-1, but that's tough. If he's got a concussion, which is what kind of the early sign. I haven't checked any notes in the last day or two, so it's probably out what he doesn't or doesn't have. But if he's in concussion protocol, he's going to miss a couple games. And so they'll have to sit him for a little bit. So I don't know if that is where they've landed him at, or do you know?
The latest I read that is, look, and a lot of these updates I don't really trust until I hear it from like a reputable source. But they did say that it was a concussion, but I don't trust that source. I only read that like earlier this afternoon, so there might be an update where he's better. But hey, if you're sitting on the plane trying to get waiting to take off because the weather's so bad, he could just be resting his melon right now on some ice. So
yeah, maybe he won't miss. I just saw a report on NHL.com that said, they were saying he was potentially missing Game 3. But again, I saw some posts on social media and stuff like that. And I'm not getting in and commenting on any of those things because I think some of that stuff is just stupid. Right. It's fodder for morons, in my opinion. And so, but look, I didn't think Draisaitl. So the guys in game said they should have given him a major and then reviewed it and backed it back down to a 2. What the referees chose to do was just give him 2 minutes for roughing. Draisaitl in the moment was like, "What are you talking about? Like I didn't rough the guy. Like I jumped up and I don't think what it looks. Go back and look at the Trouba hit. Right? Go look back and look at the Trouba hit from the Florida series. Like that's a suspension worthy hit. Mm-hmm. That's like you need 5. I mean, he stuck his elbow out really obviously, really blatantly, and clipped a guy in the head. What Draisaitl did was came up and almost led with his hands to meet. And as he kind of led with his hands, his elbow kind of flapped. Again, I thought from kind of impact, his elbow flapped around and it caught Barkov kind of in the temple. He did not come in and have his elbow out and lead with his elbow. I mean,
those are two different plays, like
wildly different things.
Trouba was playing pretty, I don't want to say dirty, but he was playing. Okay, well, he's playing a little more aggressive than he should, and he rightfully deserved what he got. Now, Draisaitl is not a player like that. Draisaitl is not a player like that. Trouba is. Yeah. And I'm sorry, New York Rangers fans. I'm a Ranger fan. I was rooting for them all in the Stanley Cup playoffs. I think Trouba probably should have gotten a suspension.
He did have to serve a one game, I think.
Maybe even more. Maybe more than one suspension then, because that was just.
I know he got fined.
Okay, well, a fine for these guys, big deal,
on that, since we're talking about correcting errors. If you listen to the podcast and you listen to us on the last podcast, I talked about the Florida Panthers getting swept last year. I was wrong. That's my fault. I should have done my research. They did not get swept. They did win one game in the finals last year. So I apologize, Florida Panther fans that listen to our podcast. That was my mistake. I should have looked up before I spoke. And so they did not get swept. They did somehow manage to win one game. They lost the other 4, and they were done in 5. So
we're allowed to make mistakes, people. We're allowed to make mistakes.
That's my bad. We're just people, guys. We're just people. So
it was the icy hot getting to the icy hot fumes and the taste.
Right.
Messing with his.
The patches have been working their way up from my legs to my stomach to my arms, so it's just working slowly to my brain. It's slowing
sucking
me down.
on those icy hot patches on his clips.
That's right.
We got to blast icy.
Blast icy hot. I don't have to brush my teeth. I just rub my teeth with a little bit of icy hot patch in the mornings, and I'm good to go. Minty fresh. Can't feel my mouth for half the day, but tastes really good. So so I don't know. I don't think Draisaitl needs anything beyond the 2 minute. I think people that are blowing it out of proportion are just a waste of it. They asked Paul Maurice about it, and he said it's not the Oprah Winfrey show or something. And then he made a wisecrack about I haven't watched the last 5 minutes of the game, so implying he hasn't even watched all the film yet. I don't know when that interview was done. I think Paul Maurice gives some great interviews. He's pretty comical. Yeah, he's great. And so I don't think Paul Maurice is worried about it. He didn't seem worried about it in the moment. I think most everybody understands Draisaitl's not a dirty guy. It was probably more of an incidental type thing. Look, it's hockey. I mean, stuff like that's going to happen. And so, it is what it is. And there are a lot of people that really burnt been out of shape about it because I think in that game, Kachuk went after McDavid. And if I remember right, and I haven't seen any replays of it, but Kachuk kind of tangled up with McDavid and took a chop at him and stuff. And there was a ref that got between them pretty quickly. And I'm pretty sure McDavid threw a punch in Kachuk's face when the ref had kind of looked the other way. McDavid snuck a quick jab right in Kachuk's beak. And I kind of laughed because Kachuk got a little wound up about it. But Kachuk is notoriously, and again, I kind of like his style. I think he's a hard-nosed guy. I think he's a pot stirrer. But I think that kind of plays into what he does. I don't know that I would accuse him of being a dirty player. But he's a guy that definitely kind of lives on the edge of taking.
He's an agitator.
So for a team and a fan base that has guys like that on your team, and he ain't the only one. I mean, there's other guys, Ekblad putting Bouchard to headlock, all that. Like for a team that has those guys on the team, like get lost if you're going to come after. That's what I think irritated me more was these Panthers fans jumping all over, like, oh, Edmonton, a bunch of cheaters. They're just trying to take a guy out. Oh, Draisaitl, what a cheater! Like, come on, guys. Like, Draisaitl has no history of taking dirty hits that I'm aware of.
Correct.
And so, like, come on, just relax. So I hope Barkov is better. I hope he gets back in the series quickly. If he does miss one game, I don't think it's going to make a huge impact, honestly, in the grand scheme of things. But I do hope he gets back out there as quick as possible. Again, he's a phenomenal player. He's a captain of their team. I don't want to see anybody have to sit out this late in the season because of injury. I mean, that goes for any of them. So we also got, I know last time we were pretty hard on Darnell Nurse, and I told you, I was like, he only got about 3 minutes of play time that game, and supposedly announcers started leaking out during the game that sounds like Nurse may be injured or have some kind of undisclosed injuries.
Sounds like him then.
Yeah, sounds like Evander Kane's got some injuries too. So a couple of your big enforcer
he's got
guys,
a crazy ex-wife going after him.
So yeah, apparently these guys have issues all over the ice. Again, not an excuse for why you're losing, but I don't know.
Look, if Darnell Nurse is really that injured, you're a -16. You're not helping your team at all. Take a seat. Take a seat.
I think Edmonton's in the position though that there's nobody at this point they can really call up to step into his position. So Edmonton's in a bit of a pick. Edmonton's biggest issue, I think, right now is they need a match for what Bobrovsky's doing on the other side of the ice. They don't have it in Skinner. Skinner's a great goalie. He's just not. He ain't the freak that Bob is.
He's not a finals goalie. Bringing it to you.
Yeah.
He's not a seal the deal goalie.
Yeah. So, and I think Edmonton's depth down the lines, down the threes and fours, they're just not quite developed enough to put the kind of pressure they need to on a team like Florida. Florida's just, again, I said it last time, Florida looks like they're on the tear that Vegas was on last year. They just seem to have depth up and down the line. All their guys seem to be able to go out there and do their jobs. And it doesn't matter if it's line 1 or line 4. They're all giving Edmonton fits right now. At least this last game they were. So Edmonton's got to figure some things out, try to get some more sustained offensive pressure, kind of go back to what they had done in the first game and take some better shots or take more shots and just try to wear Bob out, see if they can't get some goals to drop. So I don't know. I'm hoping Edmonton – I really hope Edmonton doesn't get swept because that, to me, that's just not fun to watch. But also I'm kind of rooting for Edmonton, so I hope they can make it a little better series. But, yeah, my confidence is waning that they're going to get past Game 5.
This is almost sounding like Captain Obvious, but if they're not coming out with a win tomorrow night,
they're in big trouble.
They're huge trouble. Huge trouble. They can extend it to maybe a Game 5, but to even make it a Game 6, if they're 0-3, it's going to be tough. So, which is fine. I don't want to watch them when I'm in Nashville, anyways.
Fair enough. So, all right, guys. Well, that's it. We just want to jump in and give a quick pod about Game 2. Let you guys take a listen to it. We're going to be back on tomorrow night. Have a guest on from Chicago, and you guys will be excited to hear what he has to say. He's got some good stories about Abdu, which are always fun to listen to. So, thanks for listening, guys. We'll catch you next time. Peace.
Bye.